Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 64 of the Mo Money Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Morehouse. Thank you so much for joining me for this awesome episode. I'm super excited to share my interview with my next guest, Jason Vitug, who I actually met in person, which was awesome, after I recorded this episode at FinCon 2016 not too long ago. And he is the nicest guy and just so friendly and so positive. You could just feel the positivity exuding from him, which is super awesome. I feel like I've said awesome at least 5 times, so I'm going to try to figure out a new way to say awesome. But anywho, you're going to love this episode because it's awesome. But also just because Jason's story is so interesting and he's just an inspirational guy. He has so many things going on, which we'll get to in the episode, including his road to financial wellness road trip. He went all over the United States of America doing these workshops, basically, and just promoting financial literacy. And that's just one of the many things he's done. He's also written a great book, which was reviewed by the New York Times. Ooh la la. But yeah, we'll get into all that good stuff coming up. But first, I want to thank today's podcast episode sponsor, Just Wealth. Just Wealth is Canada's most comprehensive online investment platform. So make sure to visit justwealth.com/Jessica-Morehouse for a special $50 bonus when you sign up for an account with them. And if you want to know more information about Just Wealth and what all that is, stay tuned because I will be interviewing Andrew Kirkland, who is the president of Just Wealth, in a future episode coming up. We're going to be talking about ETFs, robo-advisors, all that good stuff. So make sure to check out justwealth.com because Just Wealth is investing the way it should be, just for you. Now, let's get to the show. Thanks, Jason, for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you because you have a lot of stuff going on right now, but you have a very interesting story. So let's start from the beginning, and then we'll kind of move our way through everything. I did a little research about you before the show and read your bio, and so it kind of seems not so much rags to riches, but you came from an inner city school. You had to work a lot to pay for university, and then you eventually wound up in Silicon Valley. So you want to take me through how that all happened?
Yeah, it sounds really legit. You did.
It sounds super legit.
Yeah, you did your research. Yeah, it sounds like a rags to riches story, but that's not the case. I'm still kind of like in this quest to define what rich means, right, for me, and I think that's what we're having this discussion. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, so I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is the 4th largest city. So we're about 20 minutes outside of New York City. It's an inner city. I went through the public school system, kindergarten to 12th grade. And what's really interesting about that is that I always did the right things. And so I followed this set path, like do really well in school, be really active, and you're going to get into a great college, and that's how your life starts. And at 17, I had my first conversation with my parents, my mom, who sat me down, and she tells me, we can't afford to send you to school. And so I was devastated at 17, thinking, wow, like I played sports, I acted in school plays, I got good grades, I was in the honor society, I did a ton of clubs, but they were at the point where they made enough money to disqualify me for financial aid, but didn't have the resources to send their kid, me, their 4th child, into school. And so that is how like the trajectory of my life changed. And I hustled my way. I worked really hard. I took a job for an entire year working 60, 70 hours instead of going into my freshman year in college. So I could save up enough cash to afford the first year's tuition. And so I was cleaning toilets, serving drinks. Then eventually I found myself in banking. I was trying to figure out, okay, well, I went to school originally for filmmaking and I got into the business school. So what am I going to do with my life? Because I was now in this quest to make money, right? Because when you're devastated at that young age about kind of pursuing something that you had your mind set on, now I was on this quest to just to make money. And I thought going into the business school, getting a degree in finance was going to be that channel. And so I got into banking. I started as a teller, worked my way up. 4 years later, I'm VP of Marketing and Business Development for a credit union out in Silicon Valley. So,
whoa,
yeah,
you climbed that ladder fast
in a really short period of time. And I mean, that literally was like me taking your cash right across the tunnel line. 4 years later, I'm in the boardroom, 3,000 miles away in California, in Silicon Valley, making decisions for this credit union out there in Menlo Park, California. So, like, I thought what's important is just in that story, it was really about working hard, but I was really working smart, and I was making the right connections. I was taking advantage of the resources, the classes, and the individuals that were willing to share their skills, their knowledge with me. So that helped me and accumulate enough confidence to get this job as VP. So my story doesn't end there, because as I was living at the time at Palo Alto, California. So one of a really awesome place out there in Silicon Valley. And I helped this credit union experience transformative growth. I mean, we grew almost 100% in asset size in a very short period of time, within 3.5 years.
Wow.
And so that was that happened, and my CEO and my board of directors sat me down and said, "Jason, we're looking for a successor CEO. Would you be interested?"
Oh my gosh. And how old were you at the time?
28.
Wow. That's a young CEO if you're to...
Yeah, so I think I was actually turning 28 because this happened around June of 2011. And so you're looking at that point, I had like one of those moments of, whoa, is this the trajectory of the life I want to continue to live? And I mean, I kind of had that ideal lifestyle from the outside where everyone saw, like, I dressed really well. I owned 2 cars. One of it was
wow.
2 cars. I didn't end there. I had a motorcycle, a pedal bike.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And also a closet filled with clothes with their tags still on them.
So, yeah, from outside perspective, you were kind of living the dream or what people like strive for most of their careers.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And so that moment where I was offered this really amazing opportunity, I had to take a step back. And when I thought about, wow, a better title, CEO, Jason Vitug, CEO, that sounded really great. And then thinking about like the money, but then I started asking myself, well, what am I going to do with it? I mean, I was single at the time. I'm still single now, but I still was trying to figure out, like, what am I going to be doing with my life or the rest of my life? And I love the people I work with. I love the job I was doing, but I necessarily didn't feel fulfilled. And I was on this constant race to kind of prove myself worthy. And I proved my worth based on the size of my income. And I was at that point going, okay, well, I'm not finding this satisfaction or this happiness. I definitely need to figure this out. And instead of taking that job or that role as the successor, I did the complete opposite. I resigned instead. And so, yeah.
I bet they weren't expecting that.
No, not at all. I think when they find what they call a rising star in the organization, and here is something that most people dream of, and I certainly dreamt of having that role at one point, they weren't expecting that. And I wasn't expecting it myself. That was the response. But it did take me 6 months to leave. So it wasn't like, hey, Jason, here's this successor CEO position. We're going to train you to take over when the CEO retires. And then I said, yes, I'll take this. I said, wait, give me a moment. Let me think this thoroughly. And I came back with, no, I think I'm going to take a different route. 6 months later, I found myself backpacking around the world, and that happened in 2012. So in 2012,
Wow.
I went through 20 countries in 12 months. Such a really amazing experience.
And
And
you did that, you like did that all on your own or?
I did that all on my own.
Wow.
I did have friends
Yeah.
that met up with me in different countries. So it was like their opportunity to say, "Oh wow, I've always wanted to go there. I didn't want to travel alone. Since you're there, I'll meet up with you." So I wasn't alone for a good part of it, but the vast majority I was traveling by myself. And I did get the opportunity to meet really amazing people from all around the world that were backpacking as well, and or just living. They're expats, kind of living outside of the US. So I thought that was really interesting, and that just exposed me to so much about myself, and what really makes me tick, and what really makes me kind of get up in the morning.
So you kind of found it definitely sounds like you had a little bit of an eat, pray, love kind of thing where, right? Well, not exactly for the same reasons, but the whole, no, I think I need to kind of leave my life right now and go traveling to find myself. And it sounded like you did find yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny because I go around the country and I give these talks about personal finance and mindset, and what's interesting is that I'll get people that will tweet or tell me that I have this guy's version of Eat, Pray, Love. And in many ways you're absolutely right. And I think about and I watched the movie probably like 2 or 3 times. I haven't read the book myself.
Oh, the book's good. The book's good.
Yeah, I definitely think I should check it out. But I get a lot of people that hear the full story and say it has very similarities. And I tend to think too, we get to a point in our lives when we're in our mid-20s or mid-30s or 50s or what have you. And when we don't fully allow ourselves to be authentic and to address kind of some of the beliefs that we have, that makes us focus on the wrong things. And as I mentioned, growing up the way I grew up, I focused on the wrong thing. Not necessarily that it was bad for me, right? So it's better that I focused on being successful in my career as opposed to taking on bad habits. Yeah. But my bad habits really stemmed from I spent way too much. Like I was living paycheck to paycheck. That was kind of one of the things too. It's like, wow, I'm making 6 figures and I'm living paycheck to paycheck. What is going on? And the solution wasn't to make more money. The solution really had to be for me to look internally. And I realized I couldn't do that if I was surrounded by the same environment over and over again. And so when I was working with the same people, I hung out with the same group of friends. I ate at the same restaurants. I lived in the same place. I couldn't get my mind to shift. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make that the shift I needed to start working or creating the life that I wanted to live. And that's what traveling afforded me. And so I think that's why Eat, Pray, Love, and people ask, it's like, oh, should I travel? I don't think you necessarily need to do what I did, which was take a year off and travel around the world. But it really is just gain new experiences, have new conversations, immerse yourself in different cultures, food, and that could happen kind of locally as well.
Yeah, and that's true. It's just do something different, right?
Do something different. Have a different type of conversation with a different individual. And I mean, that's what I've learned. And I mean, what's really interesting about that too is that people tell me, Jason, I can't go quit my job and backpack around the world for an entire year. I don't have the funds. And I necessarily didn't have it either. What I did was everyone kept telling me I needed to take that successor position, take the money, buy a house. And so that was the advice that I was getting. And again, it was that moment to say, is owning a home going to define who I am as an individual? And I realized at that point that I wanted to travel and have more experiences, and owning a home, although it may have made financial sense, would have distracted me from kind of the path that I am on now. And so instead of using the down payment I was saving to buy a home, I paid off the rest of my debt. And I use like close to $10,000 for an entire year. That's how much it cost me to travel for 12 months and go through 20 different countries.
You only spent $10,000?
$10,000.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And what's really awesome about that is that I learned the generosity of people. I learned to really trust kind of food elsewhere, because I think we grow up in the U.S., right? Being Americans, we grow up going, things need to be packaged and has to be done a certain way, and so we're going to pay a premium for that, and so I was able to save by eating street food, and so when I started seeing Europeans eating street food, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I try that? And it's only $1 as opposed to $20 somewhere else.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know. No, that just reminds me. Me and my husband went to Thailand, and we didn't take a year off. We took 3 weeks off, but 3 weeks definitely did the trick, because we were both kind of unhappy where we were living in our situation. We were just kind of, both at the point where we're like, this isn't. And honestly, I think it was around the same age that you were when you were having that moment. And we went to Thailand and ate street food, pad thai for $1, the best pad thai in the world. And we definitely had a moment where like something needs to change. And and when we got back home, we're like, all right, I think we're gonna move. So it's I absolutely recommend, if you're in a funk or a quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, traveling is usually a good option.
It really is a good option, and I think too, like those who's listening, and you're kind of going from one job to the next and thinking that is what's gonna change your experience or your emotion towards your life. I tend to look at it this way: if you have the opportunity, you get offered a new job, see if you can take 2-3 a month in between, and you'll find that many employers are willing to do that. And taking 3 weeks, 4 weeks off between kind of like switching from one job to another can really set you on the right path. And you come back more rejuvenated and excited for the new job that you're taking on or whatever you want to do. So it doesn't have to follow the path that I took, which was, okay, well, buy job and I have no clue what I'm going to do when I get back, because that is very stressful as well. So it's something that I recommend to people, but for them to understand that when reality hits in, when you come back home, that you do need to find a job or do need to find a way to sustain your living. But don't let that deter you from kind of making the shifts. And that's what brought me back in 2013. When I got back, everyone kept asking me, hey, Jason, what are you going to do with your life? And what's next? It's like you lived this dream lifestyle for an entire year, but what's next? And I wasn't necessarily sure what that would be, but I knew I wanted to create something. I knew I wanted to build something that could have massive impact on other people's lives. And just looking back and reflecting on my life, I knew that personal finance, I knew that access to financial resources, information, products, and services was a key factor in why many of us do not have the opportunity to live our dream lifestyle. Yeah. And so I started blogging in around March, April of 2013, just letting people know what I was doing. And the blog took off. Like my friends and my family were sharing it. So from a handful of people to hundreds to thousands. And eventually within that same year, about like 5-6 months later, I said, I have this idea to build Phroogal. And Phroogal was going to be this platform that gets millennials, Generation Y, to kind of exchange financial information online. And so I put it out on out onto social, and I was very successful in raising over $78,000 in 30 days.
Wow.
So with the help of an amazing group of 541 people who believe as I do, that we were breaking the social taboo about money. And we were at that point where we all were focused not just on the money as the end goal, but money as a tool. And
exactly.
But we definitely needed better ways to access information so we can make smarter and informed decisions. And that's what Phroogal was born. It was really born as a blog that turned into a Q&A platform that is iterating and evolving as the community ages and as we get more information. And so that's what's landed me here today. I mean, I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm very excited that we have like 65,000 people are part of this community.
Wow.
And we're all engaged in wanting to live purposeful lives. But I also noticed something really unique, and that had to do with as a generation. So pretty much, I mean, all generations, we love the ease of use of technology, but we're very social, and we like that social interaction. We want to have certain type of experiences. And looking at the trend that was happening with Phroogal, I started thinking, how can I get the word out? How can I get more people to understand what we're doing and this focus as money as a tool? And that led me to creating the Road to Financial Wellness, which is this really crazy idea of taking a road trip across the country, zigzagging. So it's not even a direct shot from one side to the other. It really is zigzagging across the country. And in 2015, it happened. I mean, this crazy idea I've had happened in a very short period of time. We drove 10,218 miles, had 37 events in a span of 30 days. Met over 8,000 people, and everything resonated. And people were getting excited about financial education and financial literacy. And I worked with a number of partners, credit unions, fintech companies, non-for-profit, personal finance bloggers all around the country. And there's all this excitement. And I took a step back and I said to myself, wow, there's something here. If we can get 6 people into a classroom to learn about personal finance, budgeting, credit scores, what have you, that's good. But if we can get a dozen, now we're talking about hundreds of people in a room talking about personal finance, and they're excited about it, we're really onto something. And so that thought and that idea just continue to permeate in my head and evolve in my mind. And so, but with all the success of the road trip in 2015, I was reaching out to local media. I was telling them, hey, this is a movement that's happening in the grassroots local, and it's turning into a national movement. And they were telling me, this is great and all, Jason, but we can't have you on TV because you're not an authority.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like,
did they not know who you were? Come on.
I don't even know. So I was like, well, what can make me into an authority? Well, you're an authority when you're an author.
Oh, is that right?
Exactly. And that was my response as well. and I was like, well, I've written hundreds of blog posts. I've written for a number of online magazines, Business Insider, U.S. News and World Report, and does that count? And they're like, well, that's good, but you're really an author when you have something substantive such as a book. And I thought, wow, okay, well, this is interesting. This is a learning experience. And so I said to myself, in July of 2015, I was going to write a book. And I was going to take everything that I've written in the blogs and my notes and combine it together. And this was going to be my go-to manual. This is what I'm going to refer people to. And I said that on Facebook. And around August, I told the world, the universe, that I was going to be an author and I was going to self-publish. And that landed in the stream of one of my friends who I've known for a few years, who loves the information I've been sharing, reading my blog and my story. And she said, my son works at Wiley.
Ooh, well, isn't that convenient?
Yeah, so she goes,
that's awesome.
She said, I didn't know you wanted to write a book. And so she patched me over to her son. And 2 weeks later, I get an email asking me questions about myself, about my community, about my goals and this idea for this book. And not just a few days later after that, I met with them in person in Hoboken, New Jersey. And when I got home, I had a book deal in my inbox.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was very quick. And that really solidified for me that when you have a goal, when you have a dream, don't be afraid to share it out into the world. And social media is so powerful in that it gives us that platform, and we never know who reads it, who sees it. And also I realized that we could be talking and thinking about the stuff that we want to do. I want to be an author. I want to be a business owner. I want to travel the world. But if we just have that conversation with ourselves, we actually don't see the people around us that can make it happen. And so I encourage everyone, you make yourself accountable. Go out there and share your hopes, your dreams. And you'd be quite surprised in terms of the people that are willing to help you. And I mean, the road trip was a collaboration of so many people that made it successful. This book is a hodgepodge of stories from individuals as well as mine. And then this year, while I'm on the second road trip, even crazier attempt to zigzag across the country, it is a collaboration, and it wouldn't be possible without the support of so many people. I mean, such as yourself, Jessica. I mean, we're having this conversation because you resonate with the story, and you resonate with the mission of really living financially well lives, but also purposeful ones.
Which I think the more, especially as I get older, that becomes more and more just clear to me, the whole living with purpose or knowing what your purpose is in terms of, and you know, including personal finance in that kind of equation. But that is awesome. And I'm super excited to read your book. It's not out quite yet, right? It's still on like pre-order. I checked it out.
Yeah, so it actually is out.
Okay.
Part of that
I'm wrong.
with what's funny is that with the rush of like with the road trip and the book and all that stuff, I realized that all my information says it's available on pre-order, and so.
But it's actually available.
It's actually available.
Oh, good.
but see that goes to show you that you know I might be on top. It might have this appearance that I'm on top of things, but
you're very busy.
Very busy, yes. But it is,
wow.
yeah, the book is called You Only Live Once, The Roadmap to Financial Wellness and a Purposeful Life. It is available in all major retailers as well as independent booksellers. So you could buy it online, you could buy it at the bookstores, and things like that. And the book does touch upon my story and the stories of others. I talked a bit about the road trip. But the whole focus really is on how can we craft a purposeful life, and money needs to be part of that conversation. So it is about personal finance, but it is about motivation, and it's this weird conglomeration of words that I'm finding is resonating across generations, and it's getting people excited about pursuing financial education as a tool to live a life of purpose. And so I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about it too, because like you're saying exactly stuff that I'm trying to live by and lead by and share to my audience and my readers and listeners is that, you know, money shouldn't be the focus. It needs to be understood better. I mean, it's crazy still that there's so many people out there that are, you know, earning money, but they don't know how to manage it. And because of that, they're maybe mismanaging it, and their opportunities are kind of slashed in half, and they aren't able to do everything they'd like to do because they just don't really understand what they should be doing with their money. So I'm glad that you have Phroogal, and you have this awesome book that will help teach people. You know, I love that it's called The Roadmap to Financial Wellness and a Purposeful Life, because I think lots of people want, like, give me a roadmap, just tell me what to do. So I'm glad that you're here to tell people what to do. And also, I just want to say congrats, because I saw that you were reviewed in the New York Times. That's kind of a big deal.
Yes, that I'm grinning.
Right? Like, I'm grinning for you. That is so freaking cool.
It is. And so I have this, I am a man, and I have a vision board. And so
yes, you do, of course.
For all your male listeners, congrats. And if you do not, definitely have a vision board. I say that because as I go around the country and I talk about vision boards, it usually is the majority are females that have it, and they're excited that I believe in vision boards as well. But
I believe it. I have a male friend. He's a realtor, and he does very well at what he does, but he has a vision board, and he redoes it every year. And he's like, every year I do almost everything that's on that board. And I'm like, all right, I'm in it. I'm doing this.
I'm the same exact way. It's really interesting that the stuff that I've placed on the board and the things that I've written down of what I want to accomplish within the year or within this lifetime, these things do happen. And I think it just it increases our awareness. So it's not just a matter of saying, I want all this stuff to happen. It just increases our awareness. And so when an opportunity arises, you'll seize it because now it's visual. We've actually created something. And I think that's important. That's why the vision boards are a really great deal. But I had New York Times review, New York Times bestseller on this vision board. And I really spelled it out because I saw them as two different things. And so when I got an email from my publicist over at Wiley, she goes, Jason, it's out, the review. I was in New Orleans, out Café Du Monde, having a beignet and coffee. I almost passed out. I was like, what am I?
Yeah.
I was like, is this real life? Is this happening? And so I rushed, and I was like calm, and I'm like, okay, where do I go buy newspaper? Where? And I was like, that sounds really bad, right? It's like I didn't know where to buy newspaper. Well,
you were in a state of shock. That's fair. That's fair.
It's a shock, but I think we do. I read a lot of my news online and through social, and I may find myself reading a newspaper when I'm staying at the hotel. And so I'm asking around, and people are looking at me really strangely. Maybe it's because I was in this panic mode or excited mode, but no one had any clue where to buy newspaper.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Eventually I said to myself, Jason, calm down. A very high luxury hotel would have newspapers. They would carry the New York Times. And so I walked my way towards the West End, and there was a Starbucks, and there was the copy of New York Times, and I start flipping through the pages, and I'm like, there it is! And then I take a photo of it, and the girl at the cash register in Starbucks, she starts smiling. She goes, congratulations! She goes, what's happening? And I'm like, my book is reviewed on the New York Times, and that was awesome.
I hope you framed that, because that's definitely something you should frame.
I do have, my parents bought copies of it, and I believe they're looking at framing it. I'm on the road right now. I'm on the road.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I have my own copy, so I do have my own copy that I stare at. But but it is great, and I've been talking with a number of friends and personal finance bloggers and everyone else, and they're saying that it is huge, and that the book has resonated. And it's very rare for the book to be reviewed, a personal finance book to be reviewed in the New York Times. And then they just felt that it did resonate. And so the review is good. I mean, it does talk about the pros.
Yeah, thank God it's a good review too. Not, I don't know, do they give bad reviews or do they just not review them? I don't know.
I asked about that too, because when I found out that they were going to review the book, I asked, is it a good or bad review? And they're like, well, it could be good and bad, or either or. We don't know until it's published. So we don't have a say. And but I was coached into believing that whether it's good or bad, getting the book reviewed is huge, because it will just help grow the awareness of it. And so when I read it, I was like, wow, this is good. And he got it. He got the whole goal of the book, which was for us to understand the life we want to live before we start setting financial goals that don't align with that life. And he got that. And that was my goal. And that's my goal for those who read it.
That's awesome. So my next question, I know you're still on the road, so you're still very busy, but have you thought about what is the next step for you? What's going on after this road trip?
Yeah. So the next step really is just to probably take a month and disappear and sleep. That goes to that saying. But I think, I believe what I will be working on is enhancing the platform So we're working on making turning Phroogal from a Q&A site into an actual knowledge base of information to make it easier for people to find the info that they're looking for and not have to wait for specific answers. Getting them, making it easier to discover the financial products and services that they're looking for. And I think that was some of the issues that we found out last year, and that's being reinforced this year. It's like, all this information is great, Jason. We're excited, but the issue that I'm faced with is I'm overburdened with student loan debt. My credit card isn't really the best credit card for me, or what have you. And so they're trying to figure out a way to kind of find products and services that align with their values, that align with our purpose. And as I've been going around the country, I've been meeting a lot of organizations that provide products and services, financial cooperatives, credit unions, USAA, that have purpose. And so I think as I continue to walk on this path, that I want people to know that there are financial institutions out there that align with this message, that can help us live a purposeful life. Because again, money is still part of this conversation. It's an integral part. It's not the end goal, but it's integral. And so I'm going to enhance the Phroogal platform. I'm going to continue to write. And also, I want to connect more people, such as yourself and other personal finance bloggers and educators who have this purpose and this mission, and make it easier for you to connect to a wider audience. And so I believe that it isn't just one single person. I'm not trying to be the financial, motivational, what have you, guru. What I want is to create a network of us that are living purposeful lives and empowering others to do so through example, and getting them to be examples within their community.
Absolutely. We're better together.
That's right. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jason, for taking the time to chat with me. It was a pleasure. And now I feel like I need to go do something awesome. You're like such an inspirational, motivational person.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. This was a really awesome time and conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And that was episode 64 with the awesome Jason Vitug. Make sure to check out Phroogal.com and also his, personal website, jasonvitug.com, to find out more about him and the road to financial wellness. Make sure to also check out his awesome book, You Only Live Once, The Roadmap to Financial Wellness and a Purposeful Life. It is a good read. You will want to check it out. And again, a big thank you to today's podcast episode sponsor, Just Wealth, Canada's most comprehensive online investment platform. Again, if you want to open an account with them and get your ETF on and start doing some self-directed investing, which I am absolutely encouraging of, make sure to check out justwealth.com/Jessica-Morehouse for your special $50 bonus when you sign up for an account with them. Just Wealth, investing the way it should be, just for you. Aw. All right, and before I wrap up, there's a couple more iTunes reviews that I want to give shout outs to. Hey, one is from Australia, and I'm going to get to that first because that is the best. That is literally on the other side of the world. Australia, I love you. I've always wanted to go to you. Maybe this is a sign. I don't know. Okay, so the Australian iTunes review, my first non-Canadian, non-US review, is from Pyramid Dream from Australia. A really fun, casual, and laid-back podcast on personal finance. I love listening to the stories of all the guests, and the best thing about the podcast is that the interviews aren't so serious. It's more like a conversation. Great job, Jess, and keep the episodes coming. Oh, I will, Pyramid Dream. Oh, I will, because I love Australia, and I love you. All right, so the next one I've got is, and forgive me if I've already said this one before, but I don't think I have. I feel like maybe I've just read it a few times, and I feel like I've shared it. But okay, I'm just going to get to it. It is from the USA, from M3 Or maybe that's am ill. It's hard to tell. But anyways, they say, I've listened to several podcasts on finance, and after listening to about 6 episodes, I've come to depend on Mo Money. I'm an older generation than Jessica, but her words and guests help me keep going on my goals. Also, she doesn't cut anyone down. She's honest and trustworthy. She speaks on what she knows and brings in people who are wise to comment on what she doesn't. It's fun and easy and immediately practical, yet still kind of chicken soup for the financial soul while moving you forward on your goals. Yes! Thank you so much. That made my day. And if you want to send me some nice words, even not so nice words, I like criticism. I want to improve myself. So if you want to let me know what you're thinking about my podcast, I would absolutely appreciate an iTunes review. And again, make sure to check out